I wish to extend a warm welcome to all of you who have joined us to celebrate this special day, the Endangered Species Day. You're all welcome. So every day around the world, thousands of people celebrate this same day by participating in the Endangered Species Day, learning and taking action to protect threatened and endangered species. Today we'll be examining threatened and endangered fauna and flora species. That was talking about both animal and plants. The first segment will be on endangered flora species, and then we'll also look at endangered fauna species. The discussions will be focused on communicating the urgency and need for preserving these endangered species for the future. I'd like to welcome every one of us, and also like to welcome and recognize the presence of gentlemen of the press who are so connecting with us. We have from the News Agency of Nigeria, also on to that which we have to discuss. So I want to appreciate every one of us for connecting, and I'd like to appreciate the director for NAGRAB for connecting, and also my very dear friend from the Nigerian Conservation Foundation. Thank you all for connecting. I'd like to hand over to our anchor for today, who is Mr. Juna Nzebide. So go ahead, our anchor, as you handle this session in moving forward. Thank you all for connecting.
Good afternoon all. My boss already have done introduction of our resource person that will be taking on the celebration with. So I will also want to just have to introduce him, Mr. David Tolu Afolaya, the chief executive officer of GIS Consult Limited and GIS Academy. Headquarters is in Ibadan, Nigeria. He's a business partner to Esri, the largest GIS software company in the world. And the Esri company is located in Redland, California. Mr. David launched the Geography Green School project in partnership with the Association of Nigerian Geographers in order to empower Nigerian secondary school students with geographic knowledge and to leverage on the power of innovative GIS technology for sustainable development. All we are fighting for, all we are bringing into the system is to equip our next generation to be embedded with fundamental of environmental scientific research to see how they can contribute more to our ecosystem. So I want to also welcome our geo mentors and our students that are also connected, and also our staff here present. Thank you for joining us.
We have a special guest with us today in the person of Dr. Sunday Alade, who is the director of the National Center for Genetic Resources and Biotechnology, NAGRAB. As the director, he coordinates all research and development on GAN's plants, exploration, collection, regeneration, and characterization of cereals and leguminous crops, as well as gene bank management, including protocol development in tissue culture, as well as molecular biology laboratory. We have him specially in this session to give a perspective that is most times not obvious to other people that celebrate this day, because he's going to be talking about the plants that are going extinct, that are endangered, and because most times what is celebrated is just the animals that are there, and we want that balance to be here. And we have the privilege to have the whole director connect with us. So I'd like to welcome you specially to this roundtable discussion, sir, and say we appreciate your coming. Our second guest for today is Mr. Ademola Ogunsesan, the project manager of Lekki Conservation Center. The Lekki Conservation Center is the flagship of the Lekki Conservation Center is the flagship for Nigerian Conservation Foundation, and Mr. Adedamola is the former project advisor on an European project in Katsina with the mandate to boost forest cover and encourage the use of efficient cooking stoves. He has more than 17 years experience. He has led conservation projects across the ecoregion in Nigeria. And it's a privilege to also have you on this panel, because it's not just bringing a theoretical perspective, he's bringing a practical experience, what he has been involved in protecting wildlife across Nigeria. So we have this great guest with us, and I'd like to really appreciate you for coming on with us. As we go on, I'll hand over back to the anchor. He's bringing on the first speaker.
Thank you, sir, for that. We are just having a connection issue here. Like I said before, I want to direct the first question to our guest here, Dr. Sunday Alade, the Director of National Center for Genetic Resources and Biotechnology. My question goes this way. Based on your experience so far and your career choice so far, I believe that this must have impacted your everyday life and also people around you. So we want you to share that with us. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate the privilege of being on this platform today. It's a great pleasure to me and to my institution, being that we are together in the same drive to ensure that there is conservation of nature, both plants and animals, or let's put it this way, flora and fauna. For us at the National Center for Genetic Resources, our mandate is to conserve plant species and animal species that are for food and agriculture. Our interest is to ensure that the diversities available in all these crops or animals or even other lower animals are properly conserved for both now and for posterity. And in the recent past, we are interested in the crop wild relatives, those ones that under normal circumstances people are not interested. But we discovered that this holds the key to the future of any nation, because in the face of this climate change, we need to conserve everything. So coming to your question now, my career has really impacted greatly. I have over 25 years experience in genetic resources conservation. And how does it impact on the society? I must say, in the area of food security and also nutrition security, by ensuring that diversity of plants and animals are conserved. For example, it's at my center, you can see diversity of genetic resources of animals that are being conserved, and then also plant species. So we have been able to, over the years, ensure that things that are good now are conserved, and things that, though they look not fantastic now, they may not be looking good now, but as time goes on, you discover
protecting the diverse range of natural resources in Nigeria, educating the people on environmental issues, and more importantly, advocating for change in policies, and also bringing innovative ideas to solving some of our environmental challenges. And so, as the project manager of Lekki Conservation Center, my duty is to ensure that I keep the flagship projects of the Nigerian Conservation Foundation running, which has been in existence since 1990, and will probably remain the only standing forest in the Lekki Peninsula in years to come. Lekki serves as an ecotourism center and also is used for research, policy advocacy, and it's a typical example of a social enterprise evolving from core NGO mandate to a point where it has evolved to being socially enabled with enterprise capacity to improve its sustainability. Now, to my career, I think it's just about being utilizing what you have. Myself and Tolu were colleagues at MSc Day in GIS, and so right from 200 level, I know I want to study geographical information system at my master's level, and that I did with NCF for a long time, for almost 8-9 years, with that gathering experience from forest reserve across Nigeria. And this has enabled me to be able to contribute my quota in terms of protecting the diversity of resources in this country, especially flora and fauna. And more importantly, I think for me, it's an opportunity to use this platform to talk to young people that whatever you've studied, there's an opportunity for you to explore it and ensure that you get to the peak of your career. So using geography as a case study, which I studied in my first degree, and GIS in my master's, and as in natural resource management from University of Lagos, I've been able to, strengthen NCF position on the issue of using geographic information to improve decision-making in natural resource management across Nigerian landscape. And as we go on, I will be sharing a one-on-one experience of some of my insights based on job experience and also network that I've gathered over these years. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege to have you come on. We were colleagues back in the University of Ibadan at the master's level, but the area and field that you have explored has been interesting, and over the years I've watched you grow and explore and conserve and do so much for Nigeria, for that insight that you have given. Yes, we are going on to our next point that I want to look at. Which of these threatened or endangered species are you protecting? I would like to have, first of all, insights from our director, Dr. Sunday Aladeli. We would like to know what's the experience that you have had in this regard. What are you protecting, or what's your institution protecting? I know you are wearing a cap of many sides. As the director, there's so many units under you, but in summary, let's just have insight into what you are doing for everyone at home in Nigeria and around the world to understand that there's so much that is going on in Nigeria. So, Doctor, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, once again, thank you for the privilege. For us at the National Center for Genetic Resources, a national bank, being the National Center for Genetic Resources is the only institution that is mandated to keep all the diversities of crops in Nigeria and animal, and also to go after any threatened plant species to ensure that these threatened crops or animals are conserved, and possibly also when we discover that the numbers are reducing, we ensure that they are multiplied and also sent back for utilization. So the area we are focusing is, one, all the diversities of crops that are related to food and agriculture, and also medicinal plants. And presently, we discover a number of underutilized crops, underutilized species are going into extinction because of the modern agriculture. And in order to stop the tides, we are going after all the underutilized species. For example, we had a project with Global Crop Trust, Global Crop Diversity Trust, 2015 to 2017. And we have gap analysis of some of these threatened species. And you cannot believe it, some of the documented areas where we have some of these species, we got there in Cross River, in Kogi State, in Kebbi State. When we talk of rice, some of the species, they are totally almost gone. In some cases, we are able to get 1, 2, but the already documented where the document says some of these things are available, we discover that either through development and whatever, most of these things are gone. So it is what NAGRAB is now doing to make sure that we recover some of these species, not only recovering them, keep some in the gene bank, and then also find a way of utilizing the species so that they will not go into extinction. Other things that we do is to ensure that some of the indigenous crops, land races, are also secured for future use and even for present utilization. And especially we have something like finger millet, fonio. You have something like underutilized legumes like African yam bean and other white species like that. We have many of them that NAGRAB is really going after to ensure. And our own strategy is to make sure that we have sustainable use or sustainable conservation. They are using it, but they ensure that this thing does not go into extinction. Aside from other crop-wide relatives that we are doing, we make sure that most of these crops does not go into extinction. Take, for example, in those days, you have arrays of yam. Some of them, you have the one that you can pick even on the vine. Some of them are medicinal, but you may not get them. Some of them are going to extinction. Yellow yam is only in some remote area you can find them now. So what NAGRAB is doing is to ensure that these things are assembled, number one, at a particular place, and number two, they are also distributed again for sustainable use so that most of these resources will not go into extinction. So having said that, I think let me give the floor to other people. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, MD. For us at the Nigerian Conservation, our strategic plan usually addresses flagship species. And these flagship species are mainly species that are of national importance, that are categorized under the IUCN list, either as threatened or endangered. And so over the last 15 years, we've worked on the Nigerian Cameroon chimpanzee. We've worked on the Cross River gorilla. We've also worked on the Nigerian forest elephants. But it might interest you that when you're passing between Ijebu Ode and Ore, that the forest patch that you see on your left, where you call J4, Ajibandele, has a handful population of forest elephants, which are under threat because of agricultural activities and also other anthropogenic activities, and also because of illegal wildlife trade. And so for us at NCF, we've used the issue of direct conservation activities by establishing projects in some of those sites. We've also used environmental education by engaging the populace on the need to conserve some of these animals for prosperity's sake, for ecotourism. We also use advocacy, talking to our traditional rulers. Sometimes the drive for or the need or the killings of some of these animals is based on customs. And so, for instance, somebody who wants to hold a chieftaincy title, but has a title that has to do with a lion, and a lion head must be part of the process, and thereby, depriving the other people about, a lion being the natural predator that helps us to, regulate some species of animals. So these are part of the things we've done. In recent times, our focus has been on pangolins. Pangolins are mammals that have been that is widely traded. It's actually under threat. And in recent times, our effort has been towards that. And now, before we conclude on this part, the essence of just, sometimes people ask, so why are you protecting this animal? I can tell you that protection of some of these animals, protection of some of these plants will help us to reduce drug abuse, which I'm sure Doc will be able to tell us more about some of the unplanned achievements when you are working on this. Secondly, illegal wildlife trade also is strategic for insecurity, especially people fueling insecurity across Africa. And so by dealing with some of these issues, by focusing on them, it helps us to unveil some other issues that will help in the issue of national security and food security as well. Thank you.
I'm appreciating you for the work well done, and we also gain insights and learn a lot from what your organization have been doing and your contribution. Because I believe personally that the threatened species are not just, we're not just protecting it for protecting sake to increase biodiversity. I also believe that they have environmental services that they provide for humanity. And I have I'm from this school of thought that we need the environment more than the environment needs us because of the services that provide. And I want to actually tell you that you've done a great job. I want to address this question to Dr. Sunday Adele. Please, sir, can you share some of your unique experience protecting threatened and endangered species? Even though most of the comments you addressed actually addressed this issue, but I actually want you to bring it out for us to really capture your unique experience over the years, your 25 years experience in protecting this endangered species, so that we, younger generation and environmental scientists that are coming up can learn from your experience. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've already mentioned one. For example, the crop-wide relatives that was commissioned 2015 to 2017. There is a documented gap analysis which shows where you find what on Nigerian soil. And an average person would think those things are still there, but in reality, most of these endangered species are gone. Say, for example, we have a species of rice that was supposed to be found in Cross River, Calabar specifically. By the time our team of scientists got there, they ransacked everywhere with the head of the community, and it was never found there again. We tried to locate the same species in Kogi State, Lokoja and Kaba Axis. It was not there. So unfortunately, we were able to locate the same species in Kebbi State. And before we locate that, in fact, our men had to go on a risky canoe outside, the rice farming community to go and locate that species, telling us that if some of these things are not preserved or kept, we may never see them again. That's one practical experience. And also, there are many species of plants that are going into extinction. Take, for example, as we have tree being felled regularly, about 5 years ago, we try to find out how many Iroko trees do we have, and discover that these trees are going into extinction. And there are some trees that are even being used as a cultural, exercise. That if, for example, in some places in Edo State, there's a particular tree that we discover is into an extinction, and we want to go and have some cutting so that we can replicate it. But we are told that that is their God. Whenever anybody wants to, anybody is committed sin in the village, you have to take the person to that place, and nobody should come. But the fear now is that if anything happens to that tree and that tree dies, where do we get another one? So these are practical examples, and our own goal is to make sure that yes, you can use it for cultural, you can use it for food, but you want sustainable usage, whereby these things are still existing for the generation to come, and yet you can still be enjoying it. So these are the practical example that I can raise to you. Not only that, we have some. Let me give you some examples also. Some of the crops we are growing now, looking at the climate shift, the environment may not be able to accommodate some of these crops. But there are some of these, underutilized. There are some of these, unique species that are going into extinction. If we don't conserve them, automatically humanity will be running into a crisis in the future. For example, let me give you a practical example. In those days, when you talk of Borno, Yobe, the rainfall pattern was like they have 600 mm in a year. But coming back to the south now, some of those things are encroaching. And the varieties of crops that farmers will be able to grow in the south now, they may not be able to grow it in the future. Going by the climate change, look at the temperature. We are talking of crop wide relative. We collected some cowpea that are wide relative. They are not fantastic. But through our collection, we have liaised with breeders in IITA that can you find any gene inside some of these, though they are not good, you cannot cook them, but are there gene, drought tolerance, and other things you can extract and transfer to cultivated varieties. So these are the practical things that we are doing to ensure that, because if those things they contain genes that are useful both now for future, they are not looking good now. If we discard them, we are not conserving them because we feel that they are not looking okay, their cookability, but the gene they possess can be an answer to our future questions. So these are the practical way that we are contributing, and we feel that is a way forward for future generation, and also to ensure that these things, even though underutilized now, we still put them into circulation while we are making sure that samples of these things are kept secured in the gene bank for posterity. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. For what you said, I want to thank you once more for the experience you've shared with us. And I think you've talked about the physical factor where you're talking about climate change affecting those other aspects, aspect of contributing to a threatened and endangered species here in Nigeria. I want to direct this question to Mr.
My question goes this way.
Sorry, sir.
My question is, he has talked about his unique experience, and he has talked about the factor that is challenges. So I want you to come from this now. What challenges are you facing in terms of funding, in terms of funding, the opportunity, and is there any political interference in terms of you implementing your strategy to carry out conservation of this threatened species? What are your challenges in terms of the political angle, in terms of collection of data? Because I heard your line of specialty has to do with GIS and funding aspect. What has been your challenge in this area? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mindset. I will try to do something quickly. I will want to tell you two quick stories and further on participatory approach to resolving issues of protection, and also to give you insight that we are now seeing, but people like us have seen in the past. So my first experience is on the Ajija Nguru wetland. And so we went there to help the local community to fight taifa. Taifas are long grasses that grow and block the waterways. And so while we were doing that, we were also trying to teach the farmers, the fishermen. We were trying to talk about something that was becoming the in thing then, or that's always been the in thing, sustainability. And so after so much talk, and one of the fishermen decided to help me, and he said, "Young man, are you trying to say chop today, chop tomorrow?" And I said, yes, I think that addresses sustainability in a very simple way. Because the whole essence of protection that Doc has been talking about, the whole essence of ensuring that the resources are available for future generation, the whole essence of talking about the fact that some of these undiscovered resources might hold the key to the future is very important. And quickly to the second one, I will not mention the forest reserve. About 15 years ago or thereabouts, I was in this forest reserve. And I can tell you that the hectares of Indian hemp being planted across this forest reserve was scary. And so banditry issue coming up now, kidnapping issue coming up now, was just a matter of time. And we always document this in our reports. But then, people like me and Dr. Sunday, the thinking is that we want to protect these natural resources by all means. And so sometimes we are not politically correct in our reports. But now everybody has seen that most of these unattended to spaces, basically forest reserves and forests generally, are now become hideouts and have become a security challenge to what we do. And now back to the issue of funding, it's always a challenge. Most of the time when you're getting funding, it's come from international partners. And for instance, every winter, the birds in Europe come all the way to Africa. And so for us, in Africa, we think that the birds that come, we are protecting them for Europe. Well, no, we are not. It's part of what we are supposed to protect. And actually, some of our cultural, adages and thought-provoking statements gives you insight into how important they are. And so, when the happening stock comes, the farmer says, goes to the farm and start preparing. And so, happening stock is called elulu in Yoruba. And when Yoruba says elulu, to pojo, ori ara e lo pese, because when the happening stock comes, then the rain comes. And so naturally, the farmers start preparing their land for the farming season. And that's how important protection of these animals and plants are. The major challenge has been on the cadre of evaluation, funding of natural resource protection, adding value to it has always been on the bottom ladder of budget. But I can tell you that if we put money into protection of forest reserves in Nigeria today, we are likely to address the insecurity by almost 70%, almost immediately. Because the forest rangers knows all the nooks and crannies of this forest. Sambisa Forest Reserve. When the elephants were moving to the charge path, nobody thought it was a problem. They thought it was normal. But it was because the Nigerian side of where the savannah elephants used to be was being threatened because they were being harvested. Their tusk was being converted into guns, into purchase of arms and ammunition. And so you cannot afford to shy away from funding these critical natural resources. And so for me, funding at all different strata of the of the government has been a challenge. Right policies has always been a major challenge. Environment is looked upon in our various legislative chamber as a not too important, whereas it is a serious economic driver that we need to look at. And so over the years, funding from major donors across the world has shifted from what is happening in this part of the world. They have moved to other things, and thereby, reducing the funding available to organizations like that of NCL. So these are, issues that have to do with funding, with experience, and also the current challenges that we face. Thank you, my opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. We've got to learn from the angle of the challenges you are getting from policy. And one of the slogan here in Nigeria is that we have good policy that has been set out, but implementation is one of the challenges we are having. And I never knew that this has also extended to area of managing sustainability in terms of threatened species. The main thing, one of the main points we want to gain, not just for ourselves, but for our foundation, geography, because they are youths, they are students who are coming up.
I really direct this question to Dr.
Sunday
Aladele.
The question goes this way.
How can we create
awareness? What are the channels of awareness? Because I believe the federal government cannot employ more, cannot employ everyone to carry out protecting endangered species. You cannot do the work alone. The community need to be aware. Because most of the projects that scale through federal government policy that scale through and the programs that have been set up in different parts of the country, those ones that are last over the years are those ones that the community are involved and are aware. So what are the channels? Can we get the layman to be aware about endangered species threatened is it, not just to his life, but to the future that are upcoming. And apart from that, what technique can we tell them that they can apply to protect this endangered species? So I'm asking the two questions on awareness, and from your experience, what are the little things we can do to protect endangered species in our environment? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ademola, for the full education you are giving to us on this aspect. It's obvious that many local people are close to the nature, much more than those of us in the cities. That is very clear. And they are at the center of the business of protecting the endangered species. I need to just mention four areas which I feel that we need to quickly tackle in order to be able to secure and then to move forward. Number one is we need to identify the threatened species. Very, very key. Well, going to the Wikipedia this afternoon, we have huge number that are threatened, and then we have a large number also that is endangered or that are endangered. So number one key is to identify, for example, on the Nigerian soil, and that we need either NCF, other NGO, using technology to be able to do that is very important. Then number two, we need to educate the people for the why do you want to protect them? Because if people are ignorant of something they have been weeding away, something they have been cutting away, and somebody now come and said we need to protect, all these things are in danger, like the issue of the particular tree or species we were going after about 3-4 years ago, only to discover that we only have 3 stand in the whole country, but let's protect this and let's see how. But the king of the city said no, that this is their, for cultural reasons, they cannot even allow us to even move near it. So, number one thing, identify the threatened species. 2, educate the people for what are the purpose for why we want to. For example, our purpose is for sustainable use. We are not saying they should not use it, they should not cut it, but before you cut one, you make sure that other 2 exist. That's number 2. Number 3, I've gone on conservation training to, sponsored some times ago in Uganda and other countries. One of the key issues is to provide incentive to the participants of conservation. Just like my colleagues from NCF has already mentioned, if you provide incentive for the community, they are the one to guide against any indiscriminate destruction of some of these endangered species. They will make sure that they protect it, and they even make sure that it is multiplied. So number 3 is to provide incentive for them, or as many people in the community, in the villages, who want to participate. And then number 3 is, which can be done through the help of NCF or other NGOs, to form conservation groups in various communities. And like I said, this can be facilitated by NCF, because we cannot leave some of this into the hand of government. But, people can come up with ideas, and I believe some of these multinationals can also support who are environmentally, friendly. So these are my take on that aspect.
Thank you, Doc. I've learned a lot, and I've also written it down. Thanks for sharing that knowledge with us. I will also want to direct this question to Mr. David Ademola. Sir, please, it's the same question, but it's coming in a different dimension. And the question is like this: what are the possible initiatives the government you think, what are the possible initiatives you think the government and the private sector should implement to get the general public to see and appreciate the value of what you are doing? And what you are doing is protecting the endangered species. How can you get the government, what are the possible initiatives you think that the government and the private sector should implement to get the layman out there, the general public, the citizen, the people who are closer to this nature, to appreciate the value of protecting endangered species? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mindset. For us at the Nigerian Conservation Foundation, we look at innovative way of engagement. And one of these is called citizen science. And so across Nigeria now, you have what you call Ibadan Bird Club, Abeokuta Bird Club, Jos Bird Club. It actually emanated from what we call Lekki Bird Club, which started at the Nigerian Conservation Foundation. Now, the role of this, of citizen science, is to help people like Dr. Sunday to gather data informally, because process of gathering data scientifically is good. However, we discovered that a lot of data are missed because they domicile within the informal sector. And so we sometimes use this kind of medium. So the concept is called citizen science, that allow people who have interest in particular things to focus on it. So for people who are interested in plants, they gather plants for us indirectly. They share the data with us. We have a way of validating them. And so though they are not scientists, but we have a way of using science approach to validate their data. That's one. The other one is what we call site support group, which the Nigerian Conservation Foundation has been using over the years. This exercise of support group is to engage the local community, put them as group, the campus user groups, and allow them to gather data for you, give them a stipend. Sometimes one of the things we're working on, which is part of a major project the Nigerian Conservation Foundation is doing now, is called Green Recovery Nigeria. And so we're looking at forest brigades across the landscape to help to protect forest. And one of the critical things, I spoke about policy the other time. Until the local community has a fair share of the resources in their locality. Dr. Sunday was talking about Iroko tree. Now, it takes Iroko about almost 50 years or thereabout to grow into maturity. Am I right, Doc? And suddenly, you give a license to Damola from Lagos to come and cut down the Iroko tree, which generations within the village are seen without any compensation whatsoever. I think that's unfair. And so the community would rather cut down this tree than to allow it to stay. And so we must look for a very innovative way of having financial mechanism that allows local people to benefit from these resources. That for me is very strategic in order to address the issue of
thank you, sir.
Size support and things. So those are my thoughts with regards to that. Thank you, my sense.
Thank you.
Because of time schedule, and we have actually promised that this program will last 1 hour 30 minutes. I want to create the target of our invitee that have connected and have been joining us since the start of this program to ask if they have any question to throw to our resource personnel here. So if you have any question in mind and you think you want our guests here to answer, the floor is open for you. Thank you. Is there anyone with questions?
I want to appreciate the director of NAGRAB. My name is Dr. Afolayo. I am presently working with the tissue culture section of the center. The question is not really a question, but I just want our director to help us throw light in case, so that the younger ones that are listening know that their future is in one way or the other. We are looking at ensuring food security, ensuring these conserved material are available for them in the future. So what's the future of the genetic resources across the nation that are not yet collected, and what's the contribution of the government in ensuring that all of these essential genetic resources are documented at NAGRA? Thank you, sir.
I can respond.
So do I wait for further questions, or I can respond?
Let's just get the question. Please, is there any other question from our participants? So that doctor can just take them on. Okay. No one has indicated yet. So, Doc, the ground is open for you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Folayan. The number one, the government is so passionate about, especially when you talk of food security, the government is so passionate about it. And that also reflects on the way the government is increasing the budget of NAGRA. Then for the young generation, and how do we ensure, because budget is on one side, and also practically conserving what needed to be conserved is another thing. What NAGRA is doing presently, we are currently going to have we already have 3 years plan on what we call users engagement of genetic resources. Meaning that we are going to have a pilot state, Oyo, Niger State, and Kano State, where we are going to throw out 100 germplasm, 100 diversity of sorghum and cowpea to over 300 farmers. And the beauty of it is that some of these things, some of them have never seen them in their lives. So we now take them to help us to, and from their choice, we now go back and go and multiply it in a large number and give it to them to share with their friend. That is the strategy of sustainable use. And not only that, we have an extension arm who is now going to the secondary schools to teach them conservation. We have adopted schools and adopted villages to get them aware of all this. And like I said in my earlier talk, that we need to also, and this is the area the expert in GIS will come in, we need to also do a thorough survey of what exactly is still out there that have not been collected for conservation for now, and then also to be promoted for sustainable use. For example, what we plan now is that when you have cowpea from Mambila Plateau, which is a Cameroon border, you have a mixture of what is coming from Cameroon and from Nigeria. We could bring that to Oyo North, where they can plant cowpea, the variety they have never seen before. And what you have in Oyo, you take it to Yobe State. So these are the strategies to ensure that most of these materials, they exist and they continue to exist generation to generation. For example, if it's lost in one, maybe because of, for example, look at what is happening in Borno State now, many varieties have been lost. There's no doubt about it. But luckily enough, about a decade ago, I personally was involved in ransacking all those places to collect their varieties, the indigenous varieties. Now that the war, when everything is okay now, we can now return them back, which will be adapted to their community. So these are the strategies that we have on ground, and government have been responsive. I must say, at least in this administration have been responsive to anything that had to do with food security. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I hope that Doctor have been able to address the question that's been raised by one of our participants. And I also want to ask our participants if we can take one more question for our participants from our participants. We can take one more question. Our guest resource personnel to answer, because we are a little bit.
Thank you. I also have a question. Hello. Well done. I also have one more question for the GIS consult in relation to managing eco-diversity with the GIS tool. Mr. David, I appreciate all the efforts in helping with the GIS activity, green school initiatives, and all of that. My question goes thus: are you with helping Nigeria to locate eco-biodiversity across the nation, especially with regards to as you go around the nation enlightening the young one? How are you using the GIS tool, probably of mapping and location? Has there been any effort towards, location-specific target and mapping of eco-biodiversity in Nigeria? Mr. David, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Afolayan. I will like to push that question to our man from NCF, Mr. Adedamola, because there's been extensive work that he has done in the area of mapping of eco-diversity and all of that. But in answer to the question that you have asked, what are the efforts that we are making as GIS consults? Actually, if you notice, my network has not been so stable. I'm actually in transit. I just arrived from Abuja, and I'm on the highway to Ibadan now. And what we went for in Abuja is a workshop to validate world boundaries across Nigeria. Now, that has been a major challenge in mapping because we have the 3 tiers of map layers: the national boundary, the state boundary, and the local government boundary, which has been used over the years. But one that has been a challenge has been the micro level boundary, which is the ward. And the federal government of Nigeria, with support from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on the Grid 3 project, have worked extensively on this and are making it available for free for everybody to use, and institutions of government. Now, what's the importance of this data layer? It puts in the hands of everybody a micro level map of Nigeria, such that you have it to the ward level, covering both urban and rural area. And this makes it easy even for those that are on the field to map all these micro are now properly mapped, making it easy to identify all the migration trends of this species that we have been talking about. And one of the things that GIS Consult has been doing has been to promote the use of GIS, not just commercially alone, but in our educational institutions at the universities and also in secondary schools. So we now have a map boundary that we will be promoting, that even in secondary school, students will be able to map whatever species that is given to them as an assignment and identify the ward where it is, and also be able to identify even its migration trend easily on a platform that is free and accessible. So this is one of the kind of things that we are doing, throwing it open for Nigerians to be able to explore the environments easily. And definitely moving forward, yes, we'll be working with NCF and NAGRAB to ensure that you have access to all these tools and data layers that will make your work easier. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I heard you also directed this question to Mr.
Yes.
Okay. I would love him to also respond, give a summary of what he has done in that area within 2 minutes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mindset. Thank you, Tolu. The use of geographical information system in human endeavor, it's huge. And as far as you can think, then you can solve the problem. And so, just a teaser. In 1937, there was an inter-service exploration which mapped most of the forest reserves in Nigeria, or created our forests into reserves. And there was a database of about 997 database across Nigeria. Till date, this data is still largely of 1937, because we have refused to invest in updating and validating this data. And it will surprise you that by next week, IUCN and some other international partners, not Nigeria, is funding a workshop in Accra and funding 3 Nigerians to attend to update our own data. And this is where the challenge is. So for people like Tolu, when they continuously engage people in all spheres of life, they must continuously tell us the need to build our database, not because it's for anything, it's for prosperity. If you don't get it right, we have to suffer the consequences. And I think part of the consequences is what we're suffering now, where bandits use our reserve as a means of launching attack on the population. And so, will you say an investment in forest reserve, managing and protecting it, will you now say it's wasted? I think by not protecting it, we have also made ourselves.
Thank you, sir.
We have made ourselves vulnerable. So, data gathering, data validation, dissemination of data is very important in resource and flora and fauna management. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, dear Uncle, I would like to add a little to what has just been said. This kind of roundtable discussion brings to fore what is going on in our different spheres of influence, and is an opportunity for us to extend hands of collaboration to work together to ensure that gaps in our system are solved. One of the things that we have been working on for the 3 days workshop that I said we just concluded in Abuja is to validate data sets, and we have reached out to all arms of government such that we'll be able to get data from Nigerian Population Commission, data from from Office of the Surveyor General, data from INEC, and validate them so that we have a uniform map, one map in which we can all work together. It's been a challenge when foreigners are the ones that are validating our data for us. And the world is not waiting for us. The world needs this information. If we do not rise to begin to do this in validating our data, in going to collect accurate data, they will collect data for us. And whatever bias they bring in will reflect in that data set. And that's the reason why we need to collaborate more and work across disciplines to ensure that work that is going on in NAGRAB has full technology support, in NCF has full technology support. So thank you for this opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your shared here. I would quickly like to invite our staff here in GIS Consult to take on the next session within 2 minutes, because we have our Joe mentor. I want as quickly as possible to implement what our resource personnel have laid out for us. So it's not just a gathering of giving a speech or telling us what is happening. Our organization, we talk and do. That is, we talk and we implement. So we've documented what our resource persons here have given to us, and we are taking it as a challenge and then spreading it across to our Joe mentors around. I want to engage them and engage the students. And because of, even based on what you've given us now, we are trying to modify the content we have already so that we can see how we can support your mission and your goal. So I will quickly invite the GIS staff that is involved in that section. Thank you.
My name is Bamishe Ojewole, strategic operation here at GIS Consult. So from what we have heard so far, it is very important that we make our species safe for our environment. That is, everyone has a role to play to reduce the rate at which endangered species, species are endangered in our immediate environment and world at large. So the Geography Green Initiative have made series of activities, or let me put challenges, available for our mentors to engage our students. So I would like to share a slide for us to see.
While you are putting on the slide, I'd just like to chip in that the Geography Green School Project is a collaboration with stakeholders in education space and also in the industry to promote awareness about the environment and to support the teaching of geography in secondary schools. And we have about 450 volunteers across Nigeria, lecturers in higher institutions, in universities and college of education that are adopting schools and are mentoring them. So those are the people we are referring to as Geo mentors. And these are some activities that we are putting in their hands, knowing that this discussion is going to go through our network. One, it has equipped them with the information that they need for actions to be taken in schools across Nigeria, and we want them to be able to immediately take actions. And these actions are in line with the curriculum of geography in SS1 to 3. So all this that we have talked about, these mentors will make sure that actions begin to take place in secondary schools. So Bamishe, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So like I said earlier, we have made some activities or challenges available for our Geo mentors to engage students. And like we've heard so far, that there is a need for us to make our environment sustainable, not just for now, but for future uses. So we have 3 major activities here, activity 1, 2, and 3. So our mentors are meant to go to this the link above to check these activities, such that they will engage our students across the nations. So it's a challenge, all right, to our mentors to make sure that they engage students to use these activities. And I believe with what we heard so far, it is our responsibility to make use of these challenges, to make use of these activities in order to make our environment sustainable for now and for the future use. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bamishe. I also want to...
If you give room for additional information, I want to add that in the Green School Initiative, each and every student should be enlightened that they are part of the ecosystem management, and they could report and donate whatever genetic resources in terms of plants, most especially crop species that are within their localities that can be conserved, to the gene banks of the National Center for Genetic Resources and Biotechnology. This helps in making sure that students are on the lookout. If they see something, they should say something, and they should say it to the right, group of people. They could contact us through links that have already been shared with GIS Consult. So that should be part of the curriculum and the activity, that each student should learn about how important within their localities. I know you are not restricted to your state, you are going to all the states of Nigeria. Whatever they come across that is needed, that they are looking at it, this thing is going off, they can donate to National Center for Genetic Resources, and we do safekeeping in our gene banks. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for your observation.
Yeah, Dr. Afolayan, I would like to say definitely we will be working closely with your institution. We appreciate Dr. Aladele that has been speaking to us, and we see that there is a way in which we can really collaborate and get our schools involved in this great work that you are doing. We'll be reaching out to you on how we will leverage on technology to ensure that this data collection is seamless, so that we'll leverage on our network. As I said, we have a network of geomentors who are senior lecturers in universities and College of Education. We have about 450 across the 6 regions of Nigeria. And definitely, this will become a part of what we are doing in the Geography Green School. And whatever data or information you are interested in, we'll pass it through this network so that you'll be speaking directly to the students and even their curriculum to add value to what they are doing. Thank you very much for this observation. We will definitely work on this with you. And also with NCF and the National Conservation Foundation. Thank you. Mr. Moderator, you can go ahead, sir.
Thank you, ma, for your observation. And I just quickly want to chip this in. The activities that are there are not just a classroom discussion. The activities that are there are well equipped on how they can use our tools that we put on the platform to collect environmental data. So they are trained on how to get data from the field and how to report it. In fact, these activities is also giving them a research skills on how to carry out, how to understand visualization, and how to report whatever species they've seen, and also how to use the modern tools and the what we are. In fact, we are working on having a database where these things are reported, and we believe that we collaborating with you, or what the future holds for us, we be able to equip this more. I just want to thank all of our participants in this discussion we have today on the protection of threatened and endangered species. I hope that we can join hand and protect threatened and endangered species, especially now and for the future. I want to personally thank our resource personnel, Mr. Adedamola and Dr. Sunday Alade. I want to appreciate you for time spent. It's not easy to get your time at this point, because you must be engaged in a lot of activities. Also, sir, we are promising you that whatever round discussion we have today, it has been tabled down, and we are modifying whatever thing we have. And next time we meet, we not only carry out a round table discussion, we also tell you the progress, the level of progress we have gone through based on your advice today. Thank you, sir, and God bless you for the time you shared with us.
Thank you, Mike. For me, as a parting shot, I will want to live on a very jovial mood.
The Joe Special Society of Nigeria. And I would like to appreciate our guests today, Mr. Adedamola Olusegun, again, and Sunday Aladele. Thank you very much.
Tolu, thank you so much for inviting me. But I would like to leave on this note. And when you talk about geomentoring, it's interesting when you talk about geography. Permit my biasness, Dr. Sunday. But you know, as a young man living, I spoke with my father's friend one day. He came around and he said, "What did you study in school?" And I said, "Geography." And he said, "Teacher, no," which means. And I said, "Well, I don't mind being a teacher." He looked at me. But today, that same geography has taken me to about 11 countries of the world. It has given me the opportunity to manage one of the most visited parts, probably in West Africa, probably, if not one of the best, most visited in Africa. And so for me, these young people must be taught that being a geographer, being a zoologist, being a botanist, being an environmentalist does not limit your career, does not limit your horizon. And so on that parting note, I will tell them that their geography, their involvement in this geo-processing,
mentoring,
it's a process that can take them to the next level. One of these days, I think I will take time off to adopt one of these schools, Tolu. I'll be very interested to tell them my stories.
Wow, that's
Have
great.
a lovely evening, my brother.
Thank you, Mr. Adedamola. It's a pleasure meeting you on this platform. Thank you very much, and for inviting me. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It's indeed a great pleasure meeting everyone. The collaboration continues, and we would like to bring you more on this and other similar platforms, and also to engage the students directly as mentors. So this is part of the collaboration that we are talking about, which we will all be part of. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Before we go, I need to also bring this to fore, that in what we are doing, apart from the Association of Nigerian Geographers that we are partnering with and the University of Ibadan, we are also partnering with the Environmental Systems Research Institute, that's ESRI, and they have supported us over the journey of about 6 years, providing software for our students in secondary schools and at the university for free. They have provided various souvenirs to encourage students about the environment and to explore their world. And we are also part of GeoSun, which is also extending our reach across the country. Of note is also that we are partnering with GLOBE, that's Global Observation of the Environment. It's a United States funded project that promotes STEM in secondary schools and universities. And part of the tools that we're using for data collection and to empower the students are resources from GLOBE. So this is a collaboration to empower Nigerian students, and we will definitely want to work more with NAGRAB and NCF and NCC on all this that we are doing. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and thank you for all the participants. Thank you.